Hebrews 8 and chapter 8 and verse 12. We have a fantastic lesson tonight. I don't know how much I don't want to get done, but it's real good. You've got the other one opened up to read from the Amplified Bible. That's good. Let's read this together now. All right. Hote, Helios, Esomai, Tes, Adikias, Auton, Kai, Tone, Hamartion, Auton, Hu, May, Menesto, Hete.
How do you say the last word?
Hete.
Hete?
Hete, yeah. Hete. It says here he's quoting Jeremiah 31:34 and Isaiah 43:25, Micah 7:18 and 19. He's quoting the Old Testament. He says, "Because merciful I shall be to the unjust of them," or the unrighteousness, all right, "and of the sins of them know not I, or shall know not shall be remembered." I shall remember. All right, or call us to remember any longer. It first person singular, first aorist subjunctive passive. All right, and it says here, and be calls merciful. All right, merciful, Helios. And we talked about that here a while back. There is a term that the Lord uses of himself, of Jehovah, the man of loving kindness. The man of loving kindness. It means that he is merciful. Ephesians 2 and 8 says, "For in grace," I don't know what it says in King James, but it says in Greek, the translation says, "For in grace ye are having been saved through faith, and that faith did come out of you. It is a gift of God." A gift of God. You're saved by grace. Saved by grace. All right? Now this word Helios is an Attic word. An Attic word. That's something you get out of the attic. You know what I mean? An Attic word. Attic. What does Attic mean?
Attic?
Attic. Attic. A-T-T-I-C.
The store.
Attic. Let's look at that.
Upstairs.
Attic. That's the kind of word it is. That's its original, attic. Okay? Attic. Now, what does attic mean?
What kind, like a drug addict or like a house addict?
This right here.
Oh.
Right, so what's written up on the board up there? Attic. A-T-T-I-C. It is a form that comes from this word. What's that? Athens, Greece. That word originated in the dialects, in the Greek dialects from Athens. Ionian word. It comes from Ionia, all right? There are different, originally, back in times unknown, how far back the Greek language goes, originally the Greek language was made up of dialects of Greek. And the Ionian and Athenian were the major, real heavy, what we call classical Greek contributors. Okay? And Attic is, and when you see a word, when you see an origin of a word and it says Attic, it means that word came from it was an Athenian word. Okay? So this word merciful is an Attic or Athenian word. It's used one time in this form in the New Testament. It was common in the Septuagint. Now remember, we have pretty much come to the conclusion that the writer of the book of Hebrews knew very little Hebrew. Okay? All right? Because he must have been what kind of a Jew?
Hellenistic?
A Hellenistic Jew, which means a Greek-speaking Jew and one that studied the Septuagint. And since almost all of his quotes are from the Septuagint, and even there was a Septuagint and then there was a commentary on the Septuagint in Greek. And the quotes that he uses were from the Greek Septuagint, not the Hebrew Bible. Okay? Because merciful, all right, that's an attic word. I shall be, first person singular future, indicative middle. He will be because he wants to be. Okay? For God so loved the world. Who made God love the world? Who made him do it?
God.
That's because he wanted to. It was of his own volition. Okay? He wanted to love the world. Okay? And I shall be to the ones unjust of them, and to the ones sinning. That word sin there, hamartia, or hamartio. Look at that word now. Hamartia. What about hamartia? Huh?
To go out of bounds.
Okay, that means to go out of the pathway. That means trespasses. You trespass, you went out of the way, and the word there, it comes from amero, and it means to destroy, to go out of bounds and cause destruction. The sins of them, and then it says, who made? That's a double negative. We have a adverb of negation in who, and then we have a particle negation in made. All right? And then it says here, this word here comes from memnesco, all right? It says, I no more or no longer, I shall remember or be caused to remember their sins. Okay? No longer. 8 and verse 12. Now here's 8 and verse 13 now. Now we have the story. Remember when Jesus talked about the wine skins? In King James I think it said bottles. What did it say about the bottles, the wine bottles, the wine skins in the New Testament? Mark 2:22. Someone go to Mark 2:22. Mark 2:22.
They get weak.
Huh?
They start breaking apart after a certain time.
Mark 2:22.
Right?
Yeah.
2:22?
Yeah. Mark 2:22. What you got there, Randall?
No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, otherwise, I'm at 21. The patch pulls away from it, and the new from the old, and the worst tear results. No one puts new wine into old wineskins, otherwise the wine will burst the skins, and the wine is lost, and the skins as well.
All right.
But one puts new wine into fresh wineskins.
Okay. This is one that I entitled Old Wineskins and Old and New Cloth. Actually, it tells a story about this, okay? Now, the wineskin. Have you ever seen a wineskin, young lady? You ever seen a wineskin? Has anybody here ever seen a wineskin?
I think I have on TV.
They use them still over in the Middle East a lot. In the Greek area, they use wineskins. It is a thing that the Basque use them.
It's like a funnel.
All right.
Like a
It's not a funnel.
It's like a closed
It's what it is a skin like this. It's usually, well, let me draw you a picture of it.
like a uniform.
Yeah, it looks something like this. Okay, that's what it looks like, except it's more round right here, and it's got a stopper in it. Okay, and it's got a long thong on the thing, and they carry that around. That's an old-fashioned canteen. Okay, that's what it is, an old-fashioned canteen. Now, these wineskins, they would take wine and they would put it in there, and they put a cork on it, a stopper in it. Okay, not so much a cork, but a wooden stop or whatever. You know, they would build these. They were people that's all they did was make wineskin, wine, what we call wine bottles. King James called them bottles. But they put wine in there, and what does wine do? What does wine do? It ferments, it bubbles, and it expands. Okay. And beer does the same thing, all these things that ferment, you know, and they ferment, and they quit fermenting, and they cause a certain amount of alcohol, which causes preservation in there, okay? Well, these wineskins, they would put new wine, okay, in new wineskins. Because what had happened, it would blow the skin out and stretch the skin as far as it could be stretched, all right? Then you could take that wine out of there after it was fermented and everything, you could drink it, okay? But what they usually did, they didn't drink pure wine most of the time. They used wine over there as a water purifier, okay? A water purifier. What they would take is they would take bottles, they would take water, and they would take a wine skin or a wine bottle of wine, and they would squirt so much in each bottle, and then to fill the rest of it up with water. And they would drink this diluted wine. Now, why did they drink wine and water?
So it kills the bacteria.
So it would kill the bacteria. If you've ever been in the Middle East or Europe or anything, or down in Mexico, you find you can't drink the water. You drink the water and you're going to get a real bellyache.
They're drinking
Okay?
wine.
You better drink bottled water, purified water, and it costs a lot of money in some of those places. And so people go down there and they drink Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or something like that, and or they drink beer or wine. Okay? Because they have to. The water there it has bad bacteria in it. Okay? And they said, you don't put new wine in old wineskins. The wineskins had always been stretched out. You don't take and try to save money and refill them with new wine. Because if you do that, it's going to bust it. Okay? There was a purpose for the Old Testament. And that purpose was to lead us to Jesus Christ. Simple as what it was. That's what it was. The Old Testament was to lead us to Jesus. Well, Jesus had come, so the Old Covenant is over, and that's what he's going to say. Into, can you say that? Into Lagain.
Again.
Kainain.
Kainain.
Peppa Leokin.
Peppa Leokin.
Tain. Proton. Protein.
Tain.
To.
To.
Day.
Day.
Paleomenon.
Paleomenon.
Kai.
Kai.
Geroscon.
Geroscon.
Igas.
Igas.
And then Aphanismu.
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 Okay, now let's go back and look at some of these. What does it say in the law? Is what it's talking about. In the to say new. All right. Luke 22:20, 2 Corinthians 3 and 6, 2 Corinthians 5:17, Mark 2:20 through 23, somewhere around there. Luke 5:38, Matthew 9:17. These are all cross references to this here and tells us what it's talking about. Okay. In the to say new, he has made old the first. But the thing being made old, out of date, and growing old is near to vanishing. Okay? Now, can you read that verse 8 and verse 13 from that Amplified Bible for me? It makes it a little more smooth.
Verse 13?
Yeah, verse number 13, 8 and 13.
When God speaks out of a new covenant or agreement, he makes the first one obsolete out of use. And what is obsolete out of use and annulled because of age is ripe for disappearance and to be dispensed with altogether.
All right. That's good. That's a pretty good translation of it. In the to say, God says, fresh, brand new. He's going to make something brand new. That's what we call the new Berith, the new covenant. Okay? And then he has made old, and look at that word, pet paleokin. Have you ever heard of the word paleo? Paleo-Indians? What does Paleo-Indian mean? Paleo-Indian. What does that mean?
One of the
ancient Indian cultures. Paleo. That's ancient, not modern. This is ancient. If you call paleontology, what is paleontology?
Study of like time or people or bones or something.
Old things. A study of old things. All right. Paleontology. That's where all of those words come from. This Greek word. Okay. And the former thing, but the thing being made old. Okay, there we have the word paleontology again. Paleo. That's where it comes from. Being made old. And then gerosco. Gerosco. Look at that word. What word from English would come from that?
Jurassic?
No.
No? Jurassic?
Well, kind of. Okay. How about geriatric? Geriatric. Huh? Geriatric. Probably Jurassic might have come from this term too, which means old. Okay.
Jurassic Park.
Old. Geriatric. A geriatric person is somebody. Have you got a 10-year-old dog? The dog's probably geriatric. I went out to the coldest geriatric horse the other day and I'd like to kick my head off. That 30-year-old geriatric horse. I went out there and she's getting a little bit deaf, like me, and I went out there in the back and I said, "Star, with coffee," you know. Like that, she wasn't paying attention to me, I guess. I hollered at her and told her I was coming in her horse corral. I had to go tire up her horse blanket because the strings were hanging down. So I went back there and I said, "Star." She still didn't hear me. I touched her butt with my hand and she fired on me. I mean, really fired. She snorted, kicked up in the air, and both feet just going boom, 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 like that. The angels were busy again because it should have been dead. She did kick me in the hand and almost broke my hand. But I got back. I zipped back there. I went backwards, in reverse, real fast. Have you ever been down, when you were learning how to drive, did you ever go down the road and throw the car in reverse by accident? You ever do that, brother? Huh? How about, no, not Rebecca. Marilyn, did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Are you kidding me?
Huh?
You really?
Yes.
You're not kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
How do you do that?
Huh?
How
What
did
you do that? In the old cars, you could do it a lot easier than new ones, okay? Okay, that happened easier. I've got a Packard. I got a couple old Packard cars, and their gear shifts are kind of unusual. It goes from park, the neutral, and then drive. Well, actually it says H, and then L, and then R at the bottom. Now, most of the time when you're going down the road, when you flip it all the way down to the bottom, where do you go?
First.
Low gear. You do that in a Packard, you're in reverse. All right? A friend of mine was out on Chester Avenue. This is back in the 1950s or early 60s or something. He went down the road and he had a Packard Clipper, and those 327 engines were fairly fast in some of those. You know, it was kind of hopped up and everything. And he went down there and he was going real fast and trying to take off, and this guy was racing him, so he just jerked it down in the low gear, except it wasn't low. And he went almost through the windshield. He went backwards real fast. Well, that's what I did when the horse was kicking at me the other day. I went backwards real fast. Then I put it in reverse really fast. All right?
You keep your guardian angels busy, don't you?
I keep them real busy. One of them needs to be working on my ulcers right now. It's hurting.
You need some milk.
No. Can't have that.
Some Pepto-Bismol or something.
All right. 9 and verse 1. 9 and verse 1. The earthly and the heavenly sanctuary. All right. We get into some good stuff right now. We get into the earthly. Now, do I have, over on the next page, is there a drawing over there? Flip over. Is there a drawing? Yeah, there's a drawing. Good. All right. I didn't know what some of the things they don't get in the books. But that one they did. That's good. All right. Now, look over there to that drawing real quick. Okay? We have the doors and the pillars and everything. Now, this is it right here. See this? You see all of this up here, and you see it down here on this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this. We're going to find out that the writer of the book of Hebrews has studied the Septuagint and read the commentaries on the Septuagint, and he is a Hellenistic Jew. So the writer of the book of Hebrews is probably, most definitely, not Paul. Paul was a Hebrew-speaking Jew. Okay? So this, and if you, how many of you got King James Bible with you? Anybody got a King James Bible? No, I won't have it. Old one. Look over there and where it says to the book of Hebrews and see what it says. The book of Hebrews. Just turn to the book of Hebrews right up there in the very beginning and see what it says. Now, if that was a big King James Bible, it would say this out very.
Probably doesn't. Jim has a large print one like this big.
No, I mean regular. But you know they got their study Bible and it says it'll say the Epistle of Paul to the Hebrews is what it's going to say. Does it say that?
The Epistle of Paul, the Apostle to the Hebrews.
All right, that's what it says. Okay, because that's what they thought back then. That's what King James boys thought, that this was the Epistle of Paul to the Hebrews. Now, this is not the Epistle of Paul to the Hebrews. And we're going to see one. Well, first of all, when we studied the book of Hebrews so far, we find out that the writer of the book of Hebrews is a secondary witness to the ministry of Christ. Paul was the primary witness. Did Paul meet Christ personally?
He did.
Yes, he did. All right.
In a weird way, though.
He met. Paul was standing there when Stephen was preaching in the 7th chapter of the book of Acts. Paul was standing there. He voted. He was a member of the Sanhedrin court, and he voted to have Stephen killed. And he held the men's coats while they stoned Stephen. Okay?
Paul was a Sanhedrin before he was a...
He was a Pharisee.
Okay.
He was a member of the Sanhedrin court. He was a rabbi and a master teacher. Paul was. He was all of these things. And he was married, and he has children. Because to be on the Sanhedrin court and to be a Pharisee, you had to be married. You had to have an occupation. You had to be a useful citizen. It wasn't just some of it. You had to do all these things to be a member of the Sanhedrin and to be a Pharisee. Okay? You had to be a responsible citizen, raising a family, and have the family in the fear and admonition of the Lord. That's all was part of this. Okay? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
All right. That's what he had. He had that. All right? Now, and history tells you that Paul's wife divorced him. And they carried on a mock burial after he was converted. They buried him. They disowned him. His children disowned him, everything. We never, ever hear of him talking about his ex-wife or his children at all, but God gave him new children. All right? And he said that he could have a wife, like Peter did. His wife left him. She divorced him. He said he could have a new wife, but he didn't choose to do that. He said, I choose to be. And then historically, we find that Paul had himself neutered. He became a eunuch. All right? Because he wanted to concentrate the rest of his life on the gospel of Jesus Christ. All right? These are all extra-biblical, historical...
Is that commentary or what?
That's just history, bro. That's history, okay, of the life of Paul. All right, now let's go and look at this. All right? We had 9 in verse 1. Eke.
Okay.
Men.
Sin.
Un. Kai.
Kai.
He.
He.
Prote.
Prote.
Dikaiomata.
Dikaiomata.
Latreos.
Latreos.
To.
To.
Te.
Te.
Hagion. Cosmicon.
Cosmicon.
Okay. Now let's look at this. It continued to be, that's what it says, it continued to have, that's imperfect indicative active from echo, it continued to have the sanctuary. Indeed, therefore, both. Okay, now, Leah, could you read that for me so we'll get this straightened out here from this 9 in verse 1.
Now even the first covenant had its own rules and regulations for divine worship, and it had a sanctuary but one as well.
All right. Now we're talking about here the old covenant, and it's talking like it's a person. The old covenant like a person, he or it. Okay. It continued to have the old covenant. All right. Indeed, therefore, both the first ordinances, dikaiomata, that means rules and regulations for worship. Okay. And then it says of service, true worship. That word latreos, that means true worship. It's used in Romans 9 and 4. Both the divine and the little world. This is not cosmos. Cosmos means the whole universe, doesn't it? This is the little world that we live in right here. It's both the holy, the divine worship, and the world system that we live in today. And what it's doing here is taking these two systems, and we have the earthly system is a mirror image of the heavenly. We have a reflection of it. A skia.
The skin.
A skia.
A shadow.
A skia, a shadow. All right, the shadow of it's a form of the heavenly. Now, the real sanctuary is where?
In dwelling.
In heaven.
The Shekinah glory.
All right. The Kadesh HaKadashim, the real Holy of Holies, is in heaven. All right. This one here is a facsimile, is a shadow of the real one. And the word skia means outside in the yard we have trees. And underneath some of those trees out there we have what?
Shadow.
Benches. Benches. Here's a tree. All right. Boy, look at this tree now. This is one of my artistic accomplishments here, okay? All right. There's a tree. Well, I mean, what a tree. Okay? You give your kids an F for that when you were back. All right. Here's the tree out here in the yard. All right. And underneath the tree in the yard is a bench, like a picnic table. Now, why do they put these picnic tables underneath trees?
Because there's shade there.
There's shade there. There's skia there. Shadow. And if you look out there well enough and you look it good enough, you can see the tree and you can look over there and you can see the shadow. When Rebecca opened that door a while ago, I saw your image on the ground fall. I said, that's Rebecca.
So I said too.
Did
She walked in the window
the
with
shadow.
our image.
The shadow.
Rebecca.
When she opened the door, I could see her walk by. But when she opened the door, the sun was shining and I saw your image on that pasteboard box there and I knew it was you. I could see the image of you. Now, that wasn't the real thing on the box. That was a skia. That was a shadow. Now, the earthly tabernacle was not the real thing. But they were supposed to treat it. They were supposed to learn to treat that as Kadash or Hagios holy. Okay? They were supposed to treat it as holy because it represented the dwelling place, the throne of God. Okay? The throne of God. It represented that. And they needed, and they were in kindergarten back there. Hold on now, brother, I'm saying something. Hold on.
Don't stop me free.
They were in the pedagogue. They were in kindergarten back there, and God was trying to, you know what you do in kindergarten? You get ready for first grade. And in first grade, you get ready for second grade. What grade do you teach, Rebecca?
Third.
Third grade. Well, all of that gets you ready for the third grade. And third grade is quite a place. That's where you really begin to learn. That's where they really, they think you're God. Because you're teaching them so many things. They are all excited because they are beginning to learn in the third grade. By the time they get up in the fifth grade, that flying saucers have done, well, by the time they get in the seventh grade, the flying saucers have come down here and taken their brains. And run off with them. And they won't bring them back for 20 years. Don't get it back. Not for a while. Anyway, that's what we call the junior high. That's where you
That's what we call puberty.
Yeah. Anyway, the tabernacle. The tabernacle. Skene. The skene.
Well, right.
Skene, gar, kates, kuaste, he, prote. Come on, guys. 9 and verse 2. Prote in, he, te, liknia, kai, he, trapeza, kai, he, prothesis, tone, artone, hatus, legete, agia. All right. All of that tabernacle did was get them through kindergarten because the real God of heaven was going to walk among us. All right? The real God of heaven was going to walk among us. And He was going to come down here to redeem His people. He was the man of loving kindness that we talked about a while ago. The God of loving kindness, Jehovah. Jehovah. The one who shall become. Jehovah means the one who shall become. All right? Here we have that word. It doesn't look and show the power that's there. I don't even point it. All right? Because we don't know how to say it anyway. They point it right now, they're lying to you because they don't know how to say it either. All right? But it comes from a little old word is kind of like this. And what does that say? We know how to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Haya. All right? That means to become. All right? And the word life is a whole lot like this too. Living. Life. Now we know that God is eternal. In this word we see the eternal God, the ever-existing one. Okay? And he said in the Septuagint, it says ego eimi. Ego eimi. The eternal one. And it also means the one who shall become. Now, right there, his name tells you that sometimes he's going to make a transverse. He's going to come from heaven to earth. God, it says, inhabits eternity. He inhabits eternity. God inhabited eternity. But in space and time, right over here, he's going to become one of us. Okay? That tabernacle told us that God was going to do this.
He's going to be a form of the wood that it stands for, those pillars.
Yeah.
Because he'll stand for humanity.
Yes.
And then he'll actually die on a cross that stands
That's
for
right.
humanity.
Now look at here. Look at your little diagram in your book of Hebrews.
You hear that?
Okay. Look down through there. Do you see the cross through that? Do you see the cross through it?
Yeah.
Now we're going to see something else in here that is totally Hellenistic. Okay? Because it's incorrect.
The Greeks took it over or what?
No, incorrect. We have an incorrect thing.
Why is it Hellenistic, though?
Hellenistic. That's a Greek-speaking Jew. Okay, but they had certain cultures and certain things and certain studies, certain rabbis among the Hellenistic Jews. Okay, that taught some things, and we're going to see one of them right here. Okay, for the tabernacle, it was prepared the first, in which both the lampstand and the table, the lampstand, the lichnia, all right. By the way, that word is ner in Hebrew, the lampstand, ner. Okay? And then the tables. Now that word trapeza, that's an old word. It's used in Matthew 15 and verse 27. It's not used very much. That's a very archaic word. Okay? And the setting forth of the bread. Now what he's saying here, in the first, the holy place, the Kadesh, the holy place. Now let me draw this up here so you'll know what I'm talking about. I got to draw this for you. Even though I ought to have Dakota come up here or Maryland and do this.
You should. Come up here, Dakota, or Maryland.
I ought to have one of you do this. Okay. Here we have the tabernacle. Okay. This is it. It's a rectangle. But right in the back here is a perfect square that's 15 by 50 feet. 15 by 15 feet, that is. 15 by 15. All right. And in the first room, we have what?
Well, it looks like we have the altar.
We have the table of showbread. That's what we got here. This table of showbread. That is the tables of the setting forth of the breads. That's the table of showbreads. Okay, that's on the right-hand side. And then said we got the lampstand over here. Here we have a lampstand. This is the candlestick right there. Okay, the candlestick. The ner, or the lechnia. All right, here it is over on this side. And then what does it say over here? This is called the holy place. That's all it says there. Okay, that's what it says is there. That's what it says in the book of Hebrews.
Says what? The holy what?
Well, look at it. Could you read that in that Amplified Bible there?
This is Ark of the
Lena?
Covenant.
Okay.
For a tabernacle was erected in the outer division or compartment of which were the lampstand and the table with its loaves of the showbread set forth.
Okay.
This portion is called the holy place.
Okay. This portion is called the holy place. That's what it says. What's it leaving out?
The altar of incense.
Huh?
The altar of
The altar of incense. They're not mentioning the altar of incense. You know why? Because the Hellenistic Jews said that the altar of incense was in the Holy of Holies.
That's not.
Oh. Now, it's not totally incorrect.
And the high priest carried in there once a year?
Right here was where it was. We know that. That's where it actually was. Okay? But they said it was close to the veil that they considered it. This is Hellenistic. The Hellenistic Jews said that the altar of incense was so close to the veil that they considered it to be in the Holy of Holies. So we actually have an incorrect statement, but according to the Hellenistic Jews, it's over here all right, but it's actually in the Holy of Holies as far as they're concerned. Okay? That's the difference between the Hebrews and the Hellenistic Jews. How many of you knew that? Okay, there it is. That's what it is. All right? Now, 9 and verse 4. 9 and verse 4. All right, anybody read that first word there? Krisun. Akusa. Diamaterion. This next word is real easy. That's Kai. Tain. Kiboton. Kiboton. Tes. Diathekes. Perikakalene. Boy, that's a long word, isn't it? And then Pontothen. Crisio. In. Hey. Stomnos. Or Stomnos. Crise. Ekusa. To. Mana. Tai. Hey. Robdos. Say that. Read that out. Robdos. Eron. Hey. Blastesasa. Tai. Hey. Blakes. Tes. Diathekes. All right. Now let's go back and see what it says. We're going to learn something here. The Hellenistic Jews put the Ark of not the Ark of the Covenant, but they put the altar of incense in with the Ark of the Covenant. Because they said it was holy. It was so close to the veil that it was actually part of this room. Okay? We're going to learn a lot of things about the Hebrew and the Septuagint in these verses here. All right? So this writer, do you think this writer was Paul?
I'm saying no. Saying it was King James.
Because Paul knew Hebrew. He said he was a Hebrew-speaking Hebrew. All right? And he read the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bible would have led him away from this, wouldn't it? He would have got away from the Hellenistic culture. This is a Hellenistic idea that we're talking about here. It's not totally incorrect. It is just an opinion of their rabbinical teachers. Okay? All right. All right. The golden. Having the golden altar. All right. The golden altar, that golden altar there, Themas Tadrion, that is the altar of incense, okay? That's the golden altar of incense. It was golden, wasn't it? Okay? It was covered with pure gold. The altar of incense. Now remember, this is a Hellenistic Jewish idea. He's got it in the Kadesh HaKadashim, which they didn't say. They would say the Holy of the Holies. The Hagios of the Tois Hagios, okay? Or Ton Hagion, all right? The Holy of Holies. The golden altar of incense and the ark, the kiboton, that's the ark. That's the ark of the covenant he's talking about now. Of the diathekes, of the covenant. Having been covered around about, that's perfect participle passive, having been covered around about, on all sides with gold. What did the gold represent? Deity. In which, now here we have another Hebrew, here we have another Hellenistic idea. We have a pot golden. The word golden was added in the Septuagint. It said pot in the Old Testament, but here we have a pot golden, a golden pot. And the Hellenistic Jews said that the pot that held the manna was golden. Okay? Manna. What is the manna? The one having, ekusa, that is nominee singular feminine, present participle active. The one having and continuing to have, to mana. Mana. What's mana mean? Mana. What's mana mean?
Bread.
What is it?
What is mana?
Bread
Bread.
that they were, the food that they were given.
Okay, that was what they called the bread from heaven. They called it angel's food, angel's bread. They called it, what is it? That's what it means. What is it? Mana. What is it? All right? Or is it? Is it? What is it?
What is it?
They didn't
All right.
know.
Is it?
Something to eat.
Yeah, what is this? You know? By the way, I want to tell you this. There was a natural manna out there that would drip down out of the tamarack tree. But it only dripped down a few months of the year, and they could get it, and it tasted like honey, and it was like a sap. Okay? And when the daylight come up and it got warm, it evaporated. Just like the biblical manna. But God took a physical thing and multiplied it, because it was only provided for these people, and they ate it. How many of you are eating sap off of some trees? Huh? You ever tasted it? Maple sap? How many of you have ever had any maple sap? Have you ever had any maple syrup? Real maple syrup? All right, now that's sap off the tree. Now this stuff tasted really good. It was sweet like maple syrup. Okay? It was sweet like honey. All right, this is what it tasted like. Okay? But it only was provided naturally a few months of the year and not a whole lot. And God provided this manna for 40 years. Now that was a miracle. A manna and the robdos. Okay? The robdos. The rod of Aaron. Now what does Aaron mean? By the way, you know how do you say the word ark in Hebrew? It's Aaron. Uh-huh. That's what it is. That's what it means. Aaron. Uh-huh. Aaron. Now we have the word Aaron here. What does Aaron mean? Huh? Enlightened one. Okay, enlightened one. That's what Aaron means. Aaron. Aaron. All right. Aaron means enlightened one. What is the Greek word for Aaron? The Greek word. Photios. The name is Photios. All right. Photios. All right. And the English word for Aaron. I know a lot of people are named Aaron in English, but what would it be? It would be Frank. And the feminine name for Frank is what? Francis. All right, so Francis means light, enlightened one. And we have the word photios, or phos, from the Greek word phos, which means light. All right, that's what Aaron means. The one having sprouted, having budded, gloss te sasa. Nominee singular feminine, first aorist participle active. It only did that one time, didn't it? It sprouted, budded. Had almonds on it, by the way. Had almonds on it. And the table and the plaques, all right, of the covenant. The tables of stone was in this Ark of the Covenant. So now we have here, the book of Hebrews tells us that it places the altar of incense in the Holy of Holies, which is actually not there, but the Hellenistic Jews said it was so close to there that it was part of that. So now you got that down straight enough. But this is not the Apostle Paul telling you that, because he wouldn't have done that with it. All right? All right, now let's go on. 9 and verse 5. We're clipping right along here tonight. Right? 9 and verse 5. By the way, Exodus 25:16 and 31:18, all of these, Deuteronomy 9 and 9 and 10 and 5, and all back through there is where we've been studying. Exodus 30, Exodus 37, 25, 16, 32, all through there, Deuteronomy 9, 9, 10, 3 through 5, 2 Chronicles 26 and verse 19, and all of these, and even the 4th Maccabees, number 4 Maccabees, 7 and verse 11 tells you about this. Okay? These are all, if you've got a Catholic Bible, or if you've got a Apocrypha, you can look at the 4th Maccabees in there and see it. 9 and verse 5. Genesis 3:24, Exodus 25:18, Numbers 7:89, 1 Samuel 4 and 4, Exodus 25:17, or 25:17 through 20, Leviticus 16:2, 1 Kings 8 and 7, and 1 John 2 and 2 are all part and cross references to this verse. Okay. Hiparano.
Hiparano.
Hiperano, day.
Day.
Autes,
Autes.
cherubim.
Cherubim.
All right. Doxes,
Doxes.
kata skiazonta.
Kataski azonta.
To,
To.
elasterion,
Elasterion.
peri,
Peri.
on,
On.
hoop,
Hoop.
eston,
Eston.
neen,
Neen.
lagain,
Lagain.
kata,
Kata.
metros.
Metals.
All right. Let's look at this one now. Above what? What are we talking about? Where did we finish over there in verse 4? What were we talking about, the last thing we were talking about? The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant. Now, above the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, I need an artist. I need an artist. You know what? Noah's going to have to get up bigger and come up here and draw pictures for me. All right, here's the Ark of the Covenant here, okay? It's a box. And above the box are two angel-looking beings, okay? And their faces are looking down. Oh, I know this isn't much, okay? But they got wings over here, and then faces looking down, okay? Eyeballs looking down in reverence, okay? Now, these are witnesses. That's what they are. They're witnesses. What these angels are for, they're witnesses, and there are two of them. Now, we got a Hebrew word brought in here, by the way, because if you go back to the Septuagint, that's the same word. They didn't know how to translate it. They referred to it as Zoe. What's Zoe? You get the word zoo from it. We got the word zoology from it. Zoe. What does Zoe mean in Greek? Remember what that is? It refers to them as living beings. The living being. Now, are angels alive? Sure they are. They're alive. They've been alive for a long time. They're a lot older than we are. Okay? These living beings. All right? And above the ark, Hiperano, above the ark, and looking down on the ark, above the of it or her, cherubims. Cherubims. Cherubim is a dual word. It's dual, okay? It means more than one. See the word on the end of im, and that means plural in Hebrew, doesn't it? But anyway, we have a dual word here because they're always spoken of. You cannot separate them. They are together. Okay? It's a plural word that's used as two. Okay? In this place. Now we have the cherubim. They didn't translate it anything else because they know what to do to it. Okay, thank you. All right, these cherubim. By the way, it looks exactly like it looks in Hebrew, cherubim. All right. The cherubim. Cherubim, actually, I think it's a soft bait. Cherubim.
That's how you say it, please? Cherubim?
Cherubim is what it is. They brought it over into Greek as cherubim. All right. Of glory. Doxes. By the way, that word glory come right out of the Septuagint also. Doxes. Kata skiazonta. Skata skonta. What do you think that means? Kata and skia. Okay. What's skia?
Overshadowing.
That's a shadow. Skia is a shadow. All right. Kata means what? Down. Down shadowing. Overshadowing. Nominative, plural, neuter, present participle active. These cherubim are overshadowing the mercy seat. All right? That's where God was going to meet with them. And these two cherubim are what? Witnesses. To swear that you have been forgiven. I told you when there's a time in your life that you got two witnesses, two cherubim, two angels looking down on you, and that's when you ask the Lord to forgive your sins and save your soul. And they will be there in eternity as witnesses to God to say that you did it. It's a done deal. All right? Overshadowing the halasterion, 1 John 2 and 2. All right? right, let's go to 1 John 2 and 2 and find out who the halasterion, the halosmos, who the kafar, is. All right? The kaparith. The kaparith in Hebrew. That's the mercy seat. Who is this? Who is the mercy seat? 1 John 2 and 2. Are you there, Rebecca?
And he himself is the propitiation for
The
our
word propitiation there is mercy seat.
for our sins, and not for ours only, but also for the whole world.
All right? Jesus is who it's talking about. Jesus. Read verse number 1.
My little children, these things I write to you that you may not sin. And if anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous.
Okay, now read 2 and 2.
And he himself is the propitiation
Jesus Christ, the anointed Messiah.
for our sins.
He is the mercy seat. That mercy seat over there in the Old Testament is Jesus. That stood for Jesus. That whole tabernacle stood for Him. And it was a shadow of the real thing. And the Jews still want to kiss the shadow instead of the sun. They're kissing the shadow. Rebecca, your husband lives. Have you ever you haven't seen him for a long, long time, he's been gone a week or two, and he comes home and you're out there in the yard and your shadow is down on the ground, and your sun's shining and your shadow's down on the ground. Does he run and grab that shadow and kiss it, or does he grab you and kiss it?
The shadow, of course.
That's what the Jews are doing, they're kissing the shadow. Now that's how stupid it is. That's really how stupid it is. The Messiah has come. They missed the boat. He came. He has here. The chaperuth, the hilasmos, the hilasterion. He has come. He is our real mercy seat. Concerning which not it is now to say according to part. Leah, how about reading that for me in the Amplified Bible? 9 and verse 5.
Above the ark and overshadowing the mercy seat were the representations of the cherubim, winged creatures, which were the symbols of glory. We cannot now go into detail about these things.
All right. We didn't go into detail about this, but he talks to them, and he knows what the writer of the book of Hebrews is writing about. They studied Hellenistic ideas, the living creatures. They call them the Zoe, the living creatures. All right. Well, thank you for your attention. I hope you learned something. Did you learn something tonight?
Sure.
All right. How do you think about this book of Hebrews? How do you think about it? Do you like it? It's a neat book, isn't it? You learn a lot of things about the writer when you read a book. When you read an author. Dakota, what's your favorite author? Do you know a little bit about her by reading her books? All right. I wrote a story one time, a little mini book called My Daughter's Big Sister. And people came to me afterwards after they read the little book, and they said, "Boy, you really love animals, don't you?" Hey, you really love animals. Yeah, I do. Because I wrote about that. My daughter's big sister. And there I talked about all the animals on the farm and everything. And they just fell in love with it. And some of them just cried their eyes out when they read the story. Just cried. But they said, I wouldn't have taken anything for reading the story. I cried, but I loved it. I love the story. Tell something about a person. Now, the Bible is written by whom? Who's the author of the Bible? God. He used a lot of different people to pen it. He used the writer of the book of Hebrews to write the book of Hebrews. But we can find a lot about God out in his writing. Because what he's doing is showing us a picture of him. He's displaying himself. You can go into a Catholic church and you can see a lot of images of Jesus and Mary and all this. But in the Bible, you see the God of the Bible. You see the God of eternity down there. Well, next week we'll start off with 9 and verse 6. And I'm looking forward to getting over to the 11th chapter. What is the date today?
15.
15th. All right.
All day long.
4/15/09. Well, I didn't think I'd ever see 2000. And here it is, 2009. We've almost into a decade of this thing, of this century.
It's crazy, huh?
I looked when I was 10, 15, 20 years old, 30 years old, and I said, boy, 2000, that's a long way off. I remember in 1961, I was working and writing down 1961. You know 1961, you can turn that thing upside down and right side up and it looks the same, doesn't it? I remember when I was writing that, 1961. Just look at it. Al, you can just turn that thing upside down. It's 1961.
So did you write this upside down or right side up?
One way or the other. It doesn't make a difference.
Which one is that?
I remember those things all those years. Now just think about how long that God's people have been looking toward seeing God. Jesus said that He's going to go away and He's going to come back again and lead us unto Himself, didn't He? He said, if I go away, I what? I'll come back again. All right? If I go away, I'll come back. And then there was angels standing there when Jesus ascended into heaven. And He said, what are you guys looking at? The same Jesus that's been lifted up and taken into heaven is going to come back just like that. And you know what? We ought to be thankful for the times that we live in because we may get to see Him come back. We may get to see Jesus come back in this time. Everything is in place right today like it ought to be. All right. Well, let's go out and do something eternal this week, okay? Go out and do something eternal. You can go out and just make a living, work, and do whatever you're going to do. And that just puts food on the table and everything. But go out and do something that's going to follow you into eternity this week. All right? Brett, you promise to do that?
I promise.
All right. Good deal. How about dismiss us in prayer, too?
Okay.
I missed you earlier, see. I was
did?
going to get you.
All right, dear Father, God, thank you for your message tonight, and thank you for the teachings of Jim. And we pray for everyone's health and safety, and we pray for the world, Lord, to find you, and so we can have a better planet. In your name, Jesus, amen.
Amen. All right. We've got all this stuff.
We'll hang out again, brother.
Sarah, thank you for coming.